We're paying tribute here to Jack Charlton, who has sadly passed away at the age of 85. Joining us on the line now, very much delighted to be joined by Kevin Moran. Kevin, good afternoon.
Afternoon, John.
Tough day, Kevin.
It is indeed. It's a very sad day. You know, I think I did know Jack wasn't well, so, you know, what happened today was inevitable. But I tell you what it does too, you know, as you've been listening all morning, it brings back the memories, and the memories of what Jack has done, not only for Irish football, but for the whole country, you know, and I think that'll be his greatest legacy as far as the Irish supporters are concerned, of what he did for everybody, and I certainly was delighted to be part of it.
Do you remember the first time you met him, Kevin? I
do. I remember the first time was when we went on a trip to Iceland. It was the first tournament we had. I'd missed this first game, which was at Wales. We played Wales at home. I'd missed that. And therefore the next game, I think, was that trip to Iceland, which was the first tournament we ever won in some regards, even though it was only 3 teams in it, Czechoslovakia and Iceland. And that was it. I just met him at the airport. And everything was just so easygoing with Jack. You know what I mean? There was no big scene as regards meeting you or whatever. You just blended in with everybody else and just about said hello to you as well, really, you know. But he was so easy to get on with, you know, and because I can remember a good story as regards that, going over to Iceland. I'd been there a year or two before with Manchester United, and I'd remember that you couldn't get any drink on the island inside. They wouldn't sold it. So you had to get it at the duty-free going in. And I'd mentioned this to Jack going through, and he said, sure, go ahead, get some beers, you know. And I just thought, how easygoing is that? Here's the manager you're just meeting, and they were going through the other side with some beers in our hands for the after celebrations of after the games.
He gave you guys a lot of belief, I think, Kevin. You'd had a close run in 82 with Owen Hand and that, but the way you played, whether you agreed with it or not, you bought into it, and you qualified then with Gary Mackay's goal for Scotland against Bulgaria, and then it all just started.
It did, and you're right. I think a lot of us might have been a little bit sceptical about it in the beginning. It wasn't what we expected to do. We had a lot of good players. We thought we could play a little bit more than what Jack wanted to. But he had a way he wanted us to play, and that's what defined Jack as well, was how strong that leadership was. And this is how I want you to play. You play it this way, or you don't play for me, you know. And we bought into that, and as a result of that, the success came, you know, and success in winning games, you know, things that hadn't happened before. And all of a sudden, then you qualify for the Euros, and you know, it really all started from there, really. So you bought into it. It was successful, and it's all down to Jack.
And a dressing room with Jack and Mick Byrne and everybody after beating England must have been unbelievable in Stuttgart.
Well, to me, I still look back as being one of the biggest highlights of my career, that beating England. The first major tournament you've qualified for, you know, it's the Euros, 88, and it's the first game as well against England. You know, every single one of the players you're playing against, some of them you're playing with, you know, you're with them in the dressing room at the club level, and here you are playing in the biggest game ever, and we go and win it. And it just doesn't get any bigger than that, you know. And I must admit, even though, you know, you look at Jack Charlton. Jack Charlton played for England on 35 occasions, won a World Cup for them, and he was as Irish as you could be that evening when we beat England.
That qualifying campaign for World Cup 90, I remember Spain coming to Dublin, Kevin, and they were, to me, as just a young lad watching it on TV, they looked frightened.
In some ways they were, but I think they were even more frightened when they went out for the warm-up on the pitch, because Jack had made sure that the pitch wasn't cut, that the divots that were still in place from the rugby game that was probably played the week before were still there, and the pitch was an absolute nightmare. So believe me, when you've got these, you know, great silky players from Spain coming over looking to play nice, attractive football, Lansdowne Road was not the place for it that particular evening. And yeah, they looked a bit scared when they came off after the warm-up, believe me, and the way we played as well didn't exactly help.
The World Cup of 1990 was just an unbelievable occasion for everybody involved. And I say by that stage, you felt a huge amount of confidence in yourselves under Jack's leadership.
It was, you know what I mean? In some ways it's a pinnacle because of the fact that here was the first World Cup we've ever qualified for, you know, and then not only that, it's getting past the first stage, you know, that was an achievement itself. And then you move on, you go through the penalty shootout with Romania. Everything was just one adventure after another adventure. Then going into the quarter-final, you're playing the host nation, you're playing in Rome. Like, as you say, just the whole nation where it was behind us. So when you listen to people even now this morning talking about it, I think that is what, to me, Jack's legacy will be about. It's not just about football. It's the way the whole country, came behind him, came behind the football team, and the good that it did for everybody. It just really, just united everybody so much.
Do you remember any kind of messages he was given at the time in those big games against Romania before the shootout, or against Italy in the dressing room?
He was never one for big messages. You know what I mean? He was one very much, he'd make the point as regards what he wanted you to do, and then he left you get on with it. We used to have our own little talks ourselves as regards going, we've got to do this, we'll do that, we'll do the other then as well. And what typifies that, to me, would be after Romania, when it goes for the penalty shootout. Right? He comes out into the middle, gathers everybody around, and he says, okay, we've got penalty shootout. Go sort it out yourselves. And he walked away. Now, not many managers would do that. And therefore we were left, there's no problem. If somebody else said, Andy Townsend said, I'll take the first one, and somebody else said, I'll do this and that. And it was all sorted out in no time at all. But, that was Jack. He'd done his work before, and he knows, we all knew how we had to play, how he wanted us to play, and he just let us get on with it.
We're just speaking to Jason McAteer there, Kevin, about that everybody just loved joining up with the Republic of Ireland team and playing for Jack. It's almost like you caught lightning in a bottle. Did you feel the same way?
It was, and I don't know whether you realise that, but he gave us a lot of freedom, you know what I mean? He allowed us to, explore, express ourselves and get out and have a bit of fun, you know what I mean? We weren't locked up in a hotel room or anything like that. He didn't like it, and he didn't want us to have that either, really. So, and I'm sure Jason would have said this, there were guys on a Saturday after playing a club game, and they could have a hamstring strain, a little sort of a niggly thing, and 9 times out of 10, people would try and get out of an international game for other countries. We often hear that in the club dressing room. Oh, you didn't want to play against them. It might be a friendly game at home to Cyprus. Who wants to go for that? But we all did. We all wanted to come because of the fact that the fun and the camaraderie we had between us, which Jack allowed to develop, which manifested itself as well, by the way, onto the pitch. He allowed that to happen, and that's the reason why there was such great fun among all the players. And, we just enjoyed meeting up so much. And
changed supporters' lives, people's lives in this country. I know we're going to be talking about that for the next 4 hours, but it's because it's the truth.
Well, it is the truth. You know what I mean? People are talking about the memories they have, how much it invigorated them. You're talking about, steadfast people that were just, GAA through and through, rugby through and through, would never look at a soccer match. We're just enthralled by these matches. They were watching these games. You've got old people that would never have an interest in football. They were on, sitting down, watching them on the box and watching what's happening and taking part. And the whole country was talking about it. So that's how much it did for us, and that's how much Jack did, and that's what he'd be remembered for.
As a Dublin legend, did you ever bring him to a Gaelic football match, Kevin?
I didn't. I never actually brought him to one, but he has been to Croke Park, I think, on a number of occasions. And I think he really enjoyed it. I think he was surprised by the vastness of Croke Park itself. You know what I mean? Which is always a bit of a shock. As I was the other way around almost, when I went from Croke Park to Old Trafford, the first time running out onto the pitch, just to see it and view it, not to play it even, I was shocked by how small it was. So I've no doubt that he would have been shocked by how big and how vast Croke Park is.
He was great crack, Kevin. He was a great character.
Oh, 100%. You know what I mean? And he allowed us, as I said, to express ourselves, to have a bit of fun. He allowed us to have a drink. You probably heard the stories about us chanting, Jackie, Jackie, give us a drink, and stopping the coach and stopping off into a pub on the way home from training or the way home from the races, I think, on one occasion. And he allowed these things for us to get on with. Do you know why? Because he enjoyed it himself. He loved it. Yeah. He loved being in the vicinity of the players as well. He loved the banter that we all had together. And so he allowed that to develop, while at the same time, which is the most important thing at that level, getting the success as well on the pitch.
And football as well, being put in the shop window and the front pages and the back pages. I do think it changed the way the Republic of Ireland team is viewed. I would still see the Republic of Ireland team as being the biggest thing in the country. Played soccer across the country. When you look at the TV numbers, Kevin, it's still the top show, the top draw, and I think Jack has a lot to do with that.
Well, there's no doubt about that. You know what I mean? If you think about it, the number of kids, young kids, it's the easiest game to play. When you look across the whole country in terms of, population-wise, kids playing football, you play soccer. It's so easy just to play at that early age. Probably at later stages, the GAA probably come more into play and more professional in terms of the organisation of it, which is obviously better than what the FAI has been. But overall, yes, during the era of Jack, he literally brought it onto another level, for people to go out and enjoy themselves.
Had you seen him much in recent years, Kevin?
The last time I saw him was when, give Niall Quinn his due here, he was fantastic, Niall, when he organised, a reunion in 88 for 30 years from 88 on at the K Club, and we had a fantastic time there. And what was great about that, it wasn't just the players from 88, it was some of the players from 90 as well, and later on. And, that was at the time we saw Jack, and even though he wasn't great, but he was still able to, see everybody and communicate and get on with everybody as well. So I must admit, what Niall did then was absolutely brilliant, and it was great for all of us players as well to get together and have that camaraderie back again together. But even more so now, when you look back, you remember how good was that we were able to see Jack then.
I think it's just to finish, Kevin, the legacy that a man who had a very firm view of how the game should be played, made it work, brought us to places we never thought we would get to in our lives. World Cups, top 8 in the world, the Giant Stadium, liked to pint, liked to fish, an adopted, an honorary Irishman, has left an incredible legacy on a very sad day.
Yeah, absolutely, John. You know what I mean? As I said, it's a sad day, but he's had a great innings. You look back on Jack Charlton's career, highlight has got to be, you win a World Cup in 1966, will always be remembered for that. He played for one club, Leeds United, over 700 appearances there. It shows his loyalty, as well. And then he comes over here and becomes an honorary Irishman with the work and what he did for the Irish football team as well. Hey, he may be gone today, but he'll always be remembered.
Lovely words, Kevin Moran. Thanks so much for speaking to us today on Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk.